Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dan Plucker over at Maize N Brew. Today, we're going to be looking at Michigan versus Minnesota, breaking down the film of the game. In the first game, without Jaelin Llewellyn, lost to a knee injury for the remainder of the season. And today, we're basically going to be looking at what the Wolverines did to step up in his stead. And the clear number one player that kind of performed and outperformed expectations in this game was Doug McDaniel. He had a wonderful game, played very well. So did Kobe Bufkin, for the matter of fact. And we'll kind of look at the two of their game. They both scored 15 points in this one and were the difference maker. This is the kind of performance that they're going to need to see from these two, kind of for the majority of the season, for them to be successful in what appears to be a brutal Big Ten. Now they're playing Minnesota, 4-5 team after this game, so 4-4 heading into this one, and a team that was just not very good. Minnesota's not a great basketball program. Quite a few losses on the calendar already this season. This was a game that they scored 75 points, which is the most that they've scored all season. So there's still definitely some things that the Wolverines need to work on. And we'll start that off with the very first play of the game. Doug McDaniel was electric in this basketball game. But right away here off the bat, it's just sloppy play, sloppy turnover, and it results in, a steal out right away on the other end, which is great from Dougie. And then Buffkin, we've talked about it a few times in this. That's a shot I'd like to see Kobe Bufkin take there. As you can see, he drove to the hoop instead. And I wish that in these situations, Buffkin would maybe have a little bit more confidence. I mean, look at that. That's ample space in this situation to pull up. I know he's closing out, but there's a lot of time for recovery for a lot of teams in the Big Ten if you decide to drive instead. Even with the pump fake there too, he did not give himself enough time. I'd love to see Kobe Bufkin take that shot. So a little bit of a positive, a little bit of a negative on this play, and you'll kind of see that throughout the course of this basketball game. There were so many times where McDaniel would do something wrong, and then immediately afterward he would do something right, getting the steal in this situation. Same thing with Kobe Bufkin. I think that he made some really smart plays, and then situations like this where, gosh, I wish he would just pull up in that situation and have the confidence to do so. We'll see throughout the course of the game that he played pretty well, and as did Doug McDaniel. But this was just one of those examples where I was just like, man, I kind of wish that Buffkin would have taken the shot there, and maybe this game started off a little bit better than it did, both with the McDaniel turnover and then a missed shot there for Buffkin. So I wanted to highlight this play on the defensive end because, it's no shocker. Doug McDaniel's not the biggest point guard in the world. He's a true freshman, and there are going to be some situations where he's in a mismatch defensively, and it's actually going to happen a lot in the Big Ten this season. There's a lot of big guards in this conference and a lot of guys who could take advantage of McDaniel and his size. On the other hand, Kobe Bufkin, thankfully, is one of the best defenders, I think, in the Big Ten this season. And he's very good with his hands. You'll see here he kind of pokes the ball away, and it's going to trickle away, but the Minnesota player is going to recover, and he's going to bring the ball up here. So let's watch that happen. And now McDaniel gets put in this awkward situation where he is set to guard the biggest player on the court for Minnesota, as the defense here recovers. And it's certainly a mismatch, but he forces him to make another pass, pick up his dribble, make another pass, and the guy steps out of bounds, and the Wolverines recover. It's great defense from McDaniel, kind of that confidence boost on the other end that is certainly going to help the Wolverines moving forward this season. If he can make plays like that and just play smart defense overall, I think it can be a huge help for Michigan. So one area that I think that this Michigan offense is probably better off actually with Doug McDaniel on the court is he is a much more confident shooter than Jaelin Llewellyn was from behind the arc. And I think that's going to help this team in some situations and also maybe lead to some inadvertent shots. In this situation, though, a great thing for Michigan. You'll see the play is supposed to be set up here. Hunter Dickinson's going to come up and set a screen, and Jet's supposed to go baseline. And the Minnesota defender here guarding McDaniel is slowly going to creep to try to help out with this screen and roll, and he helps too much, which leaves Doug McDaniel wide open for a three-pointer. He's going to cash it. Let's see it play out. And it's the kind of confidence that these Michigan guards are going to need this season, as a lot of the focus is going to be on the paint and those pick and rolls between Jet Howard and Hunter Dickinson. If they can have shooters like that being ready to spot up and pull the trigger, it's only going to make this team better. And they made a lot of threes in this game, which was a huge reason why they pulled away so early and also kept the lead against the Gophers. This Michigan offense is going to rely on Kobe Bufkin to be a ball handler. And on this play, this is the kind of stuff that we can't see. This is the second unit in the game for Michigan. We've had problems with the second unit for a majority of this season, no matter what. And Kobe Bufkin has to be the leader here. He has to. And you'll see in this play, he doesn't really get anything set up. He asks for a screen and then gets absolutely rocked by a Minnesota defender on the inside. There's nothing good that happens on this possession, and it's because of Kobe Bufkin not being the floor general that the Wolverines need him to be. Now, he had a great game, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have a lot of situations like this where he was the primary ball handler, and we need to see more of that point guard come out of Kobe Bufkin, and we can't have him be so locked in on driving to the basket, which he has a problem with already. We've seen it throughout the course of this game where he passes up open looks for drives, and we can't see that when he's actually controlling the basketball too. Something has to change there. A flip has to switch in his head for him to be the true point guard and the true backup point guard that the Wolverines and Juwan Howard are going to need him to be. So one area where we absolutely need to see the Wolverines get better as the season progresses is in these end of the half situations. It seems like in every game, right around the 4-minute mark in the first or second half, the offense kind of collapsed, and you'll see that on this possession here. They break the press just fine, and they're left with about 15 seconds left in the shot clock when things actually get set. You'll see here McDaniel smartly's calling for the basketball. They're trying to set up a play, but nothing's happening. Nobody's moving. It's taking way too long. There's nothing going on here. There's no play whatsoever going on here. Thankfully, McDaniel is a great shooter and a confident one at that, and he drills the three-pointer there. But that's not a possession we can be having for the Michigan Wolverines. Something needs to happen other than a baseline screen for Jet Howard. They have to have something going on there, and they need a guy who's going to command the court. This is my concern for this team without Jaelin Llewellyn. And it was even happening with Jaelin Llewellyn, but that's probably my biggest issue with this Michigan squad right now. We saw Minnesota go on and run late in the first half here, and we've seen teams go on runs late in halves where the Michigan offense kind of disappears, and that just can't happen moving forward for this team. Kobe Bufkin is just so much fun to watch on the defensive end. You're going to see here, number 3 is going to come and set a screen, and Michigan's going to defend this with a hedge. So we're going to see Hunter Dickinson here, and he's going to come up to this end, block this player from coming around the corner, and then you'll watch Buffkin, and he plays in between the two guys, the guy rolling and also the ball handler, and then somehow winds up pulling the ball away from a completely different defender off of a pass. Just so smart defense from Kobe Bufkin, and it's what makes him one of the best defenders in this conference, and he's continuing to develop. It's a lot of fun watching Kobe Bufkin on the defensive end for the Michigan Wolverines. We talked about it earlier. Sometimes it's a lot of good and then a lot of bad from these Michigan guards. You're going to see here as Minnesota gets things set up, there's going to be a cut here. And Michigan smartly calls a switch because he's going to cut baseline and he's going to come up. And Michigan switches it. McDaniel stays up on defense. He stays pretty much put in this situation. He's going to wind up with the steal because of it. And it certainly helped the Wolverines here. But then immediately we get the ball. We head to the other end. And McDaniel plays at one pace, and that's fast. And obviously they were trying to get something set up with Buffkin there. And he airballs a layup. In these situations, this is where that like veteran leadership on the court is missing for Michigan. And when you have a successful play on one end that needs to repeat on the other end, they need to take advantage of those situations and put points off of turnovers on the board. And unfortunately here in this situation wasn't the case. Half here, and we're going to see a nice little run here from McDaniel, probably his best stretch of the ball game. And it's a three-man game between Jet Howard, McDaniel, and then Hunter Dickinson, who's going to come up and set the screen. You're going to see McDaniel come this way. Dickinson, instead of rolling, comes and sets the screen here for Jet, who curls around, gets the basketball, and now these three defenders are in some trouble. So you're going to see this, again, top guard. He's going to help a little bit too much. Jet's going to pass the ball back to McDaniel here, who's going to pull up and drill a three-pointer. We saw a similar play early in the game. And it's simple action there, and it's a great shot from McDaniel and a great start to the second half for the Wolverines after a end of the first half that was a little troublesome, where Minnesota was coming back and Michigan definitely didn't let that stay. All right, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. Kobe Bufkin as a ball handler. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. You're going to see this is a set play Michigan loves. It's going to be a double screen at the top, and then Buffkin is supposed to come around and look for a layup. He makes a beautiful play on this, splitting the two defenders here and then taking it up to the basket. A great play from Kobe Bufkin, and one of his best plays of the ball game, no doubt. So something Michigan did a great job of in this game was putting the Minnesota big men in awkward situations. It happened all game long. So what you're going to see here is Doug McDaniel is going to stay at the top of the screen. And he is going to, you'll see here, right here, there's a switch and then a deny. And the Wolverines were doing that all day. They wanted to put these Minnesota big men in situations where they had to handle the basketball. And McDaniel makes a great play on it here. Turns around, easy steal, shows off the speed, takes it coast to coast for an easy layup. McDaniel's one of the fastest players in the Big Ten. And it's just a terrible possession from Minnesota. But the Wolverines took advantage of a lot of those in this game. And they beat a team that they should beat, and they handled a team that they should have handled because of the play of guys like McDaniel and Buffkin. And if they can continue to step up and play like they can and like they're capable of, like they showed against the Golden Gophers here, they're going to be in a good spot to contend. Not necessarily to win the Big Ten, but to contend for a spot in the tournament at the end of the year. All right, so we're hopping into this play midway through a possession. And we're going to see another instance where I just need Kobe Bufkin to shoot the basketball. And here it's going to go to the corner. And there's not much time left. There's only about 10 seconds. I don't know if you're getting a much better shot than that. And it's a shot that Kobe Bufkin needs to be more confident taking. I just need to see him being a willing three-point shooter. He has the skills to hit a shot like this. He has the separation to take this shot, and he doesn't. Thankfully, he dribbles baseline. It's an ugly shot. Thankfully, McDaniel's going to save him here. A nice no-look pass to Hunter, and Michigan still gets two. But I just have to see more confidence in Kobe Bufkin still on the offensive end. He's so good defensively. Once he gets things figured out on the offensive end, I think that Kobe Buffkin can be a Jet Howard level player on this Michigan team. I think that he can be maybe even better and more important to this team than Jet Howard is. I just need to see him being more confident in himself to shoot the basketball in more situations, because he will be a better player for it. There are going to be some games where it's like this game, where McDaniel is just doing everything right, and he does a lot of things right in this basketball game. It's going to be a quick give and go here with Jet, and Hunter Dickinson is going to set a screen for him as Jet cuts towards the hoop. Maybe could have gotten a pass into him, but then off of this initial screen, Dickinson is going to come again and screen McDaniel's man, and it's McDaniel's best play of the ball game. Just watch and see how this thing transpires. I mean, that's special. That's an unbelievably talented play. Not only does he split the defense there off of the high hedge, but he cuts on the inside, switches hands, and drops in a layup. Such a fancy play there from Doug McDaniel. And when he's playing like this Michigan team is going to be successful. They're going to be. He is going to lead this team in a lot of ways, and there's going to be just as many nights, I think, where we're going to be frustrated and he's making mistakes. But in this game, Doug McDaniel did a lot of very good things to help his team win. This was a really encouraging performance from a lot of the Michigan players, and of course, Doug McDaniel being at the top of the list. And I think this was the most encouraging play, actually, from Doug McDaniel in this game, even as good as that last play was, because I love them being able to set up the offense and for Doug McDaniel to get the ball to the inside to Hunter Dickinson the way that it should be, with him having space. This is a classic Michigan play. Again, double screen. You're going to see McDaniel come all the way around here, and it's going to create a lot of separation for Dickinson off the roll to the middle. There's going to be nobody on him, and it's going to be an easy bucket for Hunter Dickinson underneath. Let's see it play out. As you can see here, just patience, not trying to force anything, and then letting Dickinson get set up. A great quick pass to the inside, and if you can get the ball to Hunter Dickinson in the post, especially under the rim, there are going to be very few teams in the Big Ten that can slow him down, that can stop him, and Doug McDaniel is getting that, and that patience that we saw in that play, there's so very little of that from Doug McDaniel, so that's a play that just needs to be thrown in his face. This is what we need to see more of from you. It's what Juwan Howard is going to have to do. Overall in this game, 5 of 6 from the field, 3 of 3 from deep, 3 steals, 7 assists, 15 points. Easily the best performance from a Michigan point guard this season. It came against a bad team as the Wolverines won 90-75 over Minnesota, but it's encouraging to see something like this to show that this Wolverines team can survive and thrive even without Jaelin Llewellyn and not stoop to the bottom of the Big Ten like the Golden Gophers. They blew them out in this game. I know it wound up only being 15 points in the end, but they blew them out in this game. And a large part of that, and the credit, has to go to Doug McDaniel, and hopefully we can see him continue to improve moving forward, both he and Buffkin, as they're going to be relied upon to be the two heavy ball handlers on this team moving forward for the rest of the season.